Welcome to Native Bidaské, Native News Online's weekly spotlight on the people making news and leading change in Indian country.
Welcome to another Native Bidaské. I'm Levi Rickert, your host. This week we celebrated Veterans Day on Tuesday, and with us today is James Craig, who is a veteran, and I'm going to let him tell you his story, but I do want to mention he is currently on the tribal council at the Tunica-Biloxi Tribe down in Louisiana. So welcome to Native Bidaské, James. How are you this Veterans Day week?
Bashu, Levi. I'm doing very well, and thank you for inviting me to this. This is my first time on this network, and so thank you again. And I'm glad to be here, and it's a beautiful day today.
It's
I don't know where
beautiful.
you're at, but I know here in Louisiana it's beautiful.
Well, I'm up in Michigan, and it's cold, but it's part of our season change. And you're a Chicago guy, so
Yes, I am.
you know all about it. And just for our audience, I just want to say I met James just this year at a conference out in Las Vegas, and he's and I've seen him numerous times since. He is really studious young man who is working hard for his tribe. So thank you for that service. But let's talk about your military service, and if you don't mind, I know it's extensive. You can just go ahead and tell us what branch of the military you served and what you did, and some of the. I know you were in Iraq, but tell us your history.
All right, so I grew up in Chicago, Illinois. That's where I enlisted from in 2003. Or actually in 2002. I left in January of 2003 for basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia, for the Army. And so went there for a little bit, trained, and then I went to my first unit in Hawaii, which was 127, 1st Battalion, 27th Infantry Regiment. I was an 11 Bravo. I was an infantryman. I did that for about 6.5 years. In 2009, got out, and then 3 months later joined the Air Reserve, the Air Force Reserves. My base was actually out in Indiana, Grissom Air Force Base. I was there for about 7 years, 7.5 years. And then in 2017, I got out and went back to the Army, joined the Army Guard, Army National Guard for Illinois, and I was there ever since. And I was there as intelligence, still retaining the infantry designator, but I was just with the intelligence unit, and so I ran intelligence operations overseas, and I just retired last year. So out of my whole service, I was in the infantry for the Army. Went to the Air Force. I was security forces. I was on the security ground combat teams a lot. I have actually deployed to Afghanistan with them. I deployed 2 times to Iraq with the Army in the early 2000s. And then the last leg of my service, I was just doing not solo trips, but doing trips overseas in the Middle East, Egypt and Jordan. So that's what I did for the last 7 years, just going overseas for the last 4 or 5 years, doing intelligence missions. So that's me in a nutshell. I do have some great stories for another time while being I'll be deployed, but that's for another time. But that's my military career. That's not all of it, but that's just the gist of it. So
Well,
thank you.
22 years is a long time, so thank you for your service, Chi McGwitch. And uh, the intelligence side of it kind of intrigues me. I would imagine you've had to pass a bunch of clearances in terms of dealing with classified information at much higher level than the average service person. I would imagine being at that
Uh,
level.
yes, it's my background check almost took 2 years. It was about 18 months. It took maybe I believe there's a backlog at the time, but they go into your life in detail about 10 to 15 years back. They want to know who you spoke to, who your friends are, your character, if you're in financial debt at all, where you lived over the last 10 to 15 years, and they'll talk to your neighbors. They called everyone, and who your family is, your mother, father, your siblings. So they look into everybody. They just want to see the depth of your character and to make sure you're not in any financial trouble. That's all.
Hmm. Well, that's good. Um, James, historically, Native Americans have served in the armed forces on a per capita basis a higher level than their non-native counterparts, yeah,
Hmm.
of any racial ethnic group. We can say that, and I think we're all proud of that. We see the veterans, we reverence them. Um, they open up our powwows with a grand entry, and they help bury the dead. The color guards, and at least here in Michigan, they do. They show up in crisp uniforms, and you're just really proud of the veterans. And but often I am asked when I go to college campuses and elsewhere that with the and not to get into the 500 years of oppression that we've suffered, but historically Native Americans have not had real pleasant history in the United States. And people ask me this question: why is it Native Americans are willing to serve at such high levels, given what happened to them in their past? And I've never asked you that question, but I'd like to know what your thoughts are.
Um, Thanks, Levi. I believe it comes with the culture, right? Warrior culture. Um, you know, Being an honorable warrior for your tribe means a whole lot for indigenous tribes in the U.S. and around the world, actually. And once you're part of the warrior culture, it's like doing the honorable thing, right? And it comes with the culture. I believe that's why a lot of people or a lot of Native people actually join the military. I mean, there's different reasons, but that's one of them. To be able to be part of something for the great, I want to say for the greater good, but to be able to be part of something, to be part of that warrior culture. Um, like I said, in our tribe, we're very proud of our veterans, all our veterans that served, whether it's in peacetime or in wartime. We're very proud of them. I have my son; he's in the Marine Corps right now. He's been in for a little over 2 years, and I'm very proud of him. And for him to do the same thing that I did, to follow in my footsteps, I'm very proud of him, and I'm glad that he's joining a unique part of history and being part of that warrior culture. Not just for me, but for our tribal, our tribe. And so I think that's what it is. It's more culture basis. Um, a lot of people do join, um, and that's what we've been seeing for the last 500 plus years. So
Well, thank you for that. And it's one of those things I still, in my mind, deliberate over. And I'll say that I am proud of our veterans. And I mentioned how they open up our grand entries at powwows. Do you participate in that at this point, or and what are your thoughts when you're doing that?
um, you're honoring them, right? You're showing the people who your veterans are. I myself, I've done it several times. I've done it on different occasions. We also have actually an all native uh, guard team. I would say honor guard for our tribe. There you go. It's our honor guard. It's just our tribe, and it's just our veterans. And I participate in it. It's to show people the history and also who our warriors are. You know, we have a lot of age differences, right? We got people who served, in the 80s and the 90s on that honor guard team, and I've participated in those as well. So it's a great thing to do, and it's an honorable thing to do. Um, I just think maybe just to not to show off, but to say, hey, these are our veterans, these are our people, these are our warriors. We want to shine some light on them as well.
Yeah. Now, I at Native News Online, we've done a few stories about veterans and um, some of the problems they encounter when they come home. What do you know about Native veterans, like the homelessness. I understand there's high rates of suicide among Native veterans, and so can you speak to those issues?
Yes, you know, the PTSD that you suffer, whether it's in peacetime. Some things do happen in peacetime, that no one talks about. You do have some trauma and some traumatic things that happen during peacetime, but also that wartime, right? That wartime era. I've dealt with it. I've had PTSD from my first trip to Iraq. Um, I battled it for a long time, and for me, I found that I love to be outdoors, right? And that gives me comfort and peace. But also, I think for Native veterans, it goes back to culture. It goes back to your ceremonies, right? Your traditions. Um, I think last year, believe no, sorry, the year before, um, I went to a ceremony with my wife, right? She does ceremony, and so I went, and when I went, I felt that peace. I cried a little bit. I didn't want to cry in front of anyone, but I teared up and I felt it, and it's healed me. It really has healed me in a way to go to ceremony and to do your things in your traditional way, right? I think that's what's missing. I think that we don't look towards our traditional ways for healing. We always look to more Western ways of healing, right? But if we look towards our traditional ways of healing, I believe it will help the majority of our veterans, um, to come back home, to come back with the right mind, the right mindset, to have their heart healed, right? It's not just the body. I know everyone during wartime, people, oh, well, a limb or maybe some scars, no, it's inside. It's actually inside of us. We have a lot of people, not just Native, but a lot of people are veterans that are scarred on the inside, and no one can see those scars. It's taken a toll on a lot of people. I've lost so many friends due to suicide during my time, and those are my brothers. So traditional ways. I think we need to look towards our traditional ways of healing and our ceremonies and our people, and that will start the healing process. And hopefully, one day we could be completely healed.
Yeah, I appreciate what you just said, and I think we as outsiders, I am not a veteran, but we need to keep our veterans in our prayers because they are dealing with situations, as you were saying, scarred on the inside. And so
Yeah.
that's a pretty powerful statement there, James. So appreciate your words. Um, Let me tell you a story. And I'd like our audience to share. Years ago, I have a friend here in Michigan, and he was a Vietnam veteran. And he told me the story about how he was invited into the circle. They invite veterans in, non-natives as well. And he said he got in that circle, and he said after he got back from Vietnam, he didn't feel like it was a different war where there were so many protests back in the '60s and '70s, and he didn't feel like he had gotten a hero's welcome at all when he got home. It was like, yeah, okay, you went and served, but he said when he got in that circle, he said he felt the power, listening to the drum, and just walking with other veterans, non-native and native. And he said he started to cry. And he said for the first time he felt like somebody was showing him appreciation. So I
Hmm.
think that sometimes we look at those things that are celebrations as Native people, and we take a lot of things for granted, but
Hmm.
we don't always realize this very significance. And you were, James, you were talking about the traditional ways of healing, and I think that sometimes we do take a lot of things for granted. We as Native people, and but I also appreciated that story about that how he was overwhelmed and started to cry because he felt that appreciation. Finally, somebody is saying thank you for your service, and so. Um, this Veterans Day week, I just think those types of stories should be told. And James, going back to that thing about suicide, that's something that just troubles me. That is just because I've been working with Dean over at the and he was on Native Bidaské last week. Uh, National American Indian Veterans Group. It's
Hmm.
been chartered now by Congress, and he's the executive director, Dean Doppelmayr. And he and I've talked about it a lot. He stopped me one day as I was arriving at the NCAI winter session in Washington. He said, "I got to talk to you. We got to do some stories." And he started telling me about the high rates of suicide among Native veterans. And um, we as Native people, and I don't think it's just Native people. A lot of times we don't always talk about the difficult things, but I think, James, that we need to start talking about these things. And as I said, keep them in our prayers, our veterans in our prayers. And what are your thoughts at tribal council level? What is something that maybe not just your tribal council, not being judgmental on any other tribal councilors, not saying they're not doing enough, but what can tribal council members do to help our veterans?
That's a great question. For me, I take it personally, because I've been there, and I know during wartime, I know what people have been through. Experiences may vary, right? But on tribal council, participation matters a lot. Um, Seeing your leaders from your tribe participate, or each are actually taking your hand and helping you, means a whole lot to that person. Um, I've helped a lot of people, taking them by the hand to help them out, and this is not just with mental health. This is just with kind of everything, but it all goes hand in hand, right? The mental health portion. Um, People aren't doing too well. Hey, you sit them down, take them by the hand, say, "Hey, I got you." Walking them through the process, or even joining them in the process, right? A lot of people want to see our leaders do that. And as a leader myself, you know, you you do as you preach, right? You have all these people that, you say as you preach, you do it. You take I'll take my own advice. I'm going to do it. And so participation matters a lot. And when the people can see their leaders taking participation and those steps, in anything really, but just in those ways, it's gonna help. It's gonna build up the people, and people are gonna see that and say, "Wow, I can't believe one of our leaders is participating with me," or "Wow, I can't believe one of our leaders is actually sitting down and trying to help me." And that's one of the ways, right? And it's not just about money. I know a lot of people think, "Oh, well, we don't have the dollars or the mental health dollars, or what, whatever the case may be, right?" Um, it's about participating. It's about being there for the people and walking them through those steps. It's about counseling them. You may not have no experience in the military, but being there for someone matters when they're down, and they're going to remember that. And I think a lot of people need to understand that as a leader, you're a servant to the people. You're not just there just to be prideful, or just for the looks, or just for the snapshots. You're there to serve. Your servitude to your people, and that's what matters the most.
Yeah. I always appreciate it when I sometimes I'll see maybe a tribal council member, maybe even the chairman, the chief of a tribe will sit down at the drum after a event, and maybe they're doing a prayer song or a journey song, traveling song. However, they call them different things in different parts of the country. But when you see a tribal leader do that, I love what you just said, because I think it is, we lead by example, and I think that people love that, Native people, because so we're all we're any position we have in life, basically we're in it temporarily, right? So it's
Hmm.
might be tribal chairman. So say some remain tribal chairman for a long time, but
Yeah.
a lot of times it's 4, 5, 6 years, and then they got a new one. So you can't let it go to your head, but you got to be with the people, and it's all about being with the people. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And another thing, when it comes to veterans, I think just veterans. I think that's why you see so many groups, veterans groups, so that they know they're not alone. And you call it's like your brothers and sisters. That include the sisters. A lot of ladies are in the military now, and
Hmm.
so yeah. Well, this is a great conversation, James. How has your warriorship, being in the U.S. military, transferred over to being on a tribal council? Does it help you in terms of fighting for rights, or give us your thoughts?
So, coming on over to tribal council, I didn't know too much, right? I know it's a leadership position, so that's coming from the military to over. That's it's kind of an easy transition, right? But coming to tribal council is a little difficult to wrap my head around, um, and that's all it was. But bringing values over from the military to tribal leadership, right? Bringing those leadership values, and I don't think we talk about culture a lot, and other things, but no one talks about values, right? So what I learned in the army was, seven pillars, or the seven leadership values, as you will. They spell out leadership, so it's LDR SHIP, which is loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage, right? And so, if you're leading with that in your value system, um, great things are going to happen. Good things are going to happen, right? Um, as you well know, you've seen it in Indian country. Not everyone has those values, whether you're in a position or not. Not everyone has those values or qualities. And like you said earlier, they're titles. I believe everyone believes in titles. You know, titles they're just titles. They come and go. The only title I don't remember for it is either father, brother, cousin, nephew. Those are the titles I want to be remembered for, not for anything else, because those other titles come and go, but your character stays with you forever, and that's what a lot of people judge you on. And so I try to I try to embody that more than just being at the tribal councilman. Just try to be a good person.
Hmm. And you would agree that as a tribal council counselor, there are just so many fights that on so many fronts in terms of defense of our tribal sovereignty, and just
Yeah,
some tribes are much more prosperous than others, and some tribes really, really, um, even in 2025, need that assistance. That was
well, I
promised to
will
them.
say, yeah, I will say, you just hit it. A lot of tribes are more prosperous than others, right?
Hmm.
A little more wealthier, and then you have tribes who are, and that's one way of wealth, right? A lot of people look at that as wealthy. Hey, that tribe is very wealthy; they're doing very well. But then there's another way of wealth, culture, traditions. There's a lot of tribes out there who still hold those culture and traditions, and that's wealthy as well.
Yes.
I think a lot of people mistake, um, wealthy, or traded in traditions and culture for money. I don't want to say money, but that's what it's looking like, right? And so you don't want to trade those things in. Uh, you're always fighting for something, whether it's your sovereignty, whether it's Indian gaming, whether it's through IHS, or maybe you're going through a negotiation process with the BIA on your 638 contracts, or you're always negotiating, and you're always fighting for more and it's not for yourself, it's for the people. You're always trying to negotiate more for the people, and like you said, on every front. It doesn't have to be just one certain area, but it's encompasses everything. It encompasses everything for the people. So it's on every front, though, like you said.
Yeah. Well, in what message would you like to share with young people in terms of possibility of them getting into the U.S. military, and um, sacrificing themselves, and and how can you retain that cultural pride as you're in the service? What advice would you have for young people?
I went in. I was in a hard place, at the time, and I said, "Hey, I want to see the world." Um, I said, "Hey, I'm going to do it." So I just went down to the recruiter's office, and I said, "Hey, I want to enlist, and I want to leave as fast as possible." And so I did it. Uh, take risks. For a younger generation, I know there's a lot of people are nervous to take risks, but take risks. If you want to see the world, you can do it. You want to join the military, you can do it. Any branch you want. I'd say take the risk and go. Um, or if you're in a bad spot, I have some friends that were around gangs their whole life, and they said they got out through the military, or maybe some of them were living in poverty and they got out through the military. The military is very much a stepping stone to where you want to be in life later on, right? You can serve 4 years, you can get out, and you can go get your bachelor's degree, paid for by the U.S. government, right? Um, if you, I mean, that's one way of looking at things. I know many people who did just 4 years, got out, have a full ride to college, paid for, and so it helps in times of need, and it's not a bad place. I know some people view the military as a bad thing. It's not. The military could be a great thing and a great stepping stone. I am very glad I took the step I did, um, because I see some of my friends still to this day, still doing the same thing they were doing 23, 24 years ago. And they've never left and never experienced anything outside of their city or state. So do it. I would say do it, and it teaches you valuable lessons and some leadership qualities and values that will carry over to whether it's corporate America or whether it's for your tribe. And it helps out. It really does. And I wish more people would see it as a good thing versus a negative thing.
Well, James, and you mentioned you wanted to see the world. Tell us, where's the most fabulous place you really ever visited? Given the fact you were in the military, the military experience gave you that opportunity. What's your favorite place that you've actually seen?
Um, so I've been to the pyramids of Giza. I've been to Egypt, right? And it's a historical place, right? And so when you go there, it's very nice. It's very they upkeep with it, right? It's just a historical place to go to say, hey, I've been to the pyramids, right, in Egypt. Jordan, though, I like Jordan. Um, the food's amazing. The people are amazing. Um, the culture there is amazing. I do like Jordan a lot more, and I don't know, maybe I'm just biased, but I had a great time going to Jordan. The Jordanian military very hospitable to us. Just food is flavorful. Food is amazing there, and they do have some historical sites, right? They do have some historical sites. That's where oh, I can't remember they have some really nice cultural older ruins. I can't remember the name right now at the top of my head. Um, Also, they have the river where they said that I believe Jesus was baptized in. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I didn't go to that. I went to the ruins, and I had an amazing time. It was a good time there, and like I said, the people are hospitable. The people, they take to us well as Americans, right? They take to us well as Americans, and so I had an amazing time there. And like I said, you know I've been to Southwest Asia. I've been to all over the Middle East, really, if you can imagine. Uh, I've been to Europe. Um, Ireland's a good one, right? I do like Ireland. Not Northern Ireland, Ireland. So but I would say for me it would be Jordan.
Oh, that's great.
So
And I want to thank you again, James. And we've been talking with James Craig, the 22-year veteran, retired last year from the military, and now he serves on the tribal council at the Tunica-Biloxi Tribe of Louisiana. So, Chi McGwitch, thank you very much, James, for coming on Native Bidaské, sharing your stories, and thank you for your service to the U.S. government military.
Takash, thank you for having me, Mr. Rickett. Um, you know, you meet people on the trail and you don't know who you're going to meet, and but we've met, and just sitting down next to each other, not knowing who you were and not knowing who I was, and just started talking and got a conversation, and just things happen. Good things happen. You
Good
pray
thing.
for always good things to happen.
Yeah,
So thank you again.
I'm glad I got to meet you. So And
Yeah, thank you.
I understand you have a new baby earlier this year, so tell your wife I say hello. I met her as well. And
Will do.
congratulations.
I will let her know.
Okay.
I will let her know. Thank you again.
And to our viewers, Chi Miigwech for tuning in to another episode of Native Bidaské. We'll be back next week. It is November is Native American Heritage Month, so let's celebrate each other. And some of us like to say we actually celebrate Native American Heritage Month. We celebrate year round. We really do. But this is the year, or this is the month that we can take time to really think about, reflect about who we are as Native people. And as I like to tell you every week, elders take care of those young ones, and young ones take care of those elders. Give each other's hugs. We are all in this together. Chi Miigwech. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us. If you value our warrior journalism for Indian country, please consider supporting our work by scanning the QR code or visiting the link below. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and sign up for our free daily newsletter. Chi Miigwech.